Okay.
Are we live?
Yes.
Brilliant then. Okay, so welcome to the December meeting of Rayne Parish Council. Before I start, I'd actually would just like to say a year ago this week, we were celebrating 125 years since the start of the Parish Council in the old schoolroom, which has obviously been our spiritual home for 125 years. And here we are on our 8th or 9th meeting, having to do it online. So hopefully we'll be back in our spiritual home, and 126 years will hopefully still carry on in the or the next 126 years will carry on in the old schoolroom. But yeah,
I would have thought.
Just thought I'd point that out. So can I have apologies for absence, please?
Yes, Chair. We have apologies for absence from District Councillor Paul Eusden and County Councillor Graham Butland.
Thank you. And can we confirm who is present at the meeting, please?
Yes, we have Councillors Agatha, Eldred, Davis, Meehan, Tibbets, Hooks, Spencer and Willis.
Lovely. Thank you. And councillors, can I have your declarations of interest for tonight's meeting, please? Councillor Agatha?
My usual interest, pecuniary, because I'm providing the IT services to the council.
Lovely, thank you. I think we're getting some interference while Councillor Willis is sorting out his headphones.
I'll mute myself.
Good idea. I wonder where the heavy breathing was coming from. So anyone else? Councillor Davis.
Yeah, and 20 stroke 120.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Anyone else for any declarations of interest?
I know the person on 121-1 Mill House.
Okay, thank you.
We don't have to declare interest on the next door neighbour because that's only up as a information thing, do we?
It's up to you. They've also got
there's got no number against it.
Planning result as well.
Yeah, but okay, but there's no number against the thing, so but a little over.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? No, that's brilliant. Can we consider the minutes from the previous meeting? Is there any issues or outstanding items from them? Can I have a proposer and a seconder? Councillor Davis and Councillor Eldred, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the public forum. We actually haven't got any public request appearance at the forum tonight, and there is a full council meeting at BDC tonight, so we haven't got our county councillor Graham Butland obviously will be at that meeting, and Councillor Eusden I think has had a procedure done and is probably still convalescing, hence he's not at either meeting tonight. But we wish him well with his recovery. So moving on to roads, transport and public safety, any defects. The one thing that I was going to bring up officially was the issues we've had along Pods Lane since all the road works within the village, which has caused, a certain amount of carnage. Oh, hello, Councillor Merton.
Hello there. Sorry about that. I couldn't find my headphones. I'm easier around for them.
Before I continue, do you have any declaration of interests?
Only the mineral and waste 20 stroke 120.
Fabulous, thank you. So yeah, as I was saying, obviously we've had an issue. Sorry, Sarah.
Sorry, Anne. There's also Windycroft on the agenda.
Yes, that I didn't know if that was relevant, seeing it was a refused.
Well, it's still to note. Just
okay. 117.2. No, 120 stroke sorry, 20/121.3.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, so obviously the issues with Pods Lane is it's horrendous, it's slippery and it's muddy at the moment. So we're going to hopefully request through Paul Eusden if we can get a road sweeper to come along and give it probably has been overdue a road sweep because it's been very stony since other previous works have happened. I mean, really, I think ECC should be be down to this, but I think it's only right as a parish council we lodge a request and see if we can get this road cleaned up because it's pretty dangerous along there. It's wet and muddy.
Cleaned up. It needs a bit of work done to it now because the ruts in there is horrendous in places.
Yeah, I think once it's all calmed down a bit and we can see the proper state of the road, I think if there's some bad issues, if someone who does go along it, I know I run along it, and so I've met Trevor running along it too. So if anyone is round that way or litter picking, if there's any issues, if we can take photos, so we can go back to Essex County Council, say that this is what happened when we had the road closure in the village. Yes, Councillor Davis, you're muted.
Sorry, Chair, can you just make a note on the planning results, 44 Shalford Road? I know the applicant.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. You got that noted, Sarah. So that's the one request that I would like to do. And I think there's quite a few different potholes opening up around the village since the wet weather. Obviously, Perkins at Rayne is still got a puddle across the road and was very deep and dangerous on Friday as well. So but I think there's definitely a few potholes on the whole junction of the Swan interchange. That's definitely got some bad potholes in it. And the other one I'd like to note, if we can, is Smithfield, where the burst water main happened. It lifted the road and that hasn't been repaired, and there's actually some other quite serious potholes. I don't suppose they're going to see it as a major thing to do, but I think they should be logged if they haven't been logged already. Yes, Councillor Willis.
I'm not sure whether it's just the appropriate time to raise it, but also I was just going to ring up the fact that GigaClear haven't really made good a lot of the areas that where they've actually dug grass up, if you like. They've dug the grassed areas up. There's been no seeding or anything that's gone over that. Yeah. So I don't know whether, it's quite, the whole village looks a bit scruffy, that whole area looks very scruffy where they've just left it all mud and rubbish, really.
I think that part of their terms is that they have to put stuff right within, I think it's actually 2 years, wasn't it, Sarah?
It's rather a long time.
Which is rather a long time, and all that grass there will be weeds rather than grass if we so I think it's definitely worth noting, and if nothing has happened in the next week or two, especially while they finish off bits and pieces within the village, you would hope that perhaps they're waiting to do a lot of seed laying or something, but
that's what it needs, grass seed.
But I think it's relevant to have it noted, definitely.
Certainly in Brumwyn Road and Elm Close, that they have had to redo some of the tarmacking because it's been so poorly done that they sent people back to redo the tarmacking.
Yes, they did a corner on Chalice Rise on Saturday, actually. I wonder what they were doing.
Yeah, that's why.
So unfortunately, GigaClear is still causing some issues. And actually, I've received an email from Don today, and they managed to cut through the internet and BT wires to the 12 houses in Phillips Close. Although by the sounds of it, they have repaired that within the day and got them all back on. So, but I will reply to Don myself. So, Councillor Eldred.
I went online along with my wife to their kind of open forum, GigaClear. Which I thought they were quite good. I thought they actually, offered up and said, tell us everything, and everybody did up to a point. And I kind of got from them that they wanted to know, and they were quite concerned to put things right and everything else. and actually listening to them, you think what a massive job it is. So, I think there are two sides to it up to a point, and I think it should be pointed out that, and people were talking about, the workmanship and how they interact with people, and the conversations I've had with them, I think Paul did as well. They were very, very proactive, wanted to tell you everything what they were doing and everything else. You can only speak as you found, and I found them very pleasant to deal with and talk to.
Yeah, I had the same situation when they're outside my house. They were let me out in and out, and not a problem at all. But I appreciate has been different perhaps for other people. Yes, Councillor Willis.
Well, only to endorse what Councillor Eldred has just said, and you've said that I found them quite communicative and very helpful, to be honest with you. But I'm just really talking about making good.
Yeah, I accept that, Paul. Yeah.
We will keep a watching brief, but in the meantime, we'll see if we can get a road sweeper sorted and some of the potholes sorted. So, any other defects around the village? Yes, Councillor Willis.
Chair, it's something I asked probably a year or so ago, but I've never really heard any more about it, and that was the remnants of the old street lights.
Yes, they're still there, aren't they?
They are. I think it's probably about a year that they've stood there now with just tape round them saying "Do not touch."
I think perhaps
I can follow it up with Graham Butland if you wish.
That's what I was going to suggest. Perhaps a nice bumper email to Butland saying, "Can we have a road sweeper?" Well, obviously, I think that's have to come from District Council, but to say that we're having to request a road sweeper to him, perhaps, and also the defects and the street lights. So, yeah. Okay, is that it for everyone? Brilliant, thank you. Stansted Airport. There's an email circulated today that the appeal is starting in January and is expected to proceed for about 3-4 months. I think it's a bit of a big one. I think they were literally just trying to drum up support and try and get parish councils to help oppose it, really. It's something that we hadn't really fully got involved with before. I'm not sure what other councillors think. Take it from silence. You're not that. I don't think it's a planning appeal that we necessarily need to attend personally. Would that be a fair comment to say?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's difficult for us to. I mean, we do have some issues, obviously, with noise, but I think it's difficult for us to be representing quite the same ones as those who are right next to the airport.
Yeah,
I know what they're saying. They want to hear from everybody, don't they? But
yeah, I don't think we had the knowledge. Although, when Felsted Parish Council talked about flight paths and everything for school road direction, I mean, it was way beyond. Although they're saying that that's not an issue, reason not to do it. But I think
I think. Sorry, Chair. I think I think Felsted will probably be making representations, and they're very knowledgeable. The chap that represented him.
Yeah. So if everyone's happy, we'll just carry on with the watching brief and see what happens. I'm sure we'll get updates as that appeal is happening. Moving on to policing issues. Have we got any? I can't think of anything. Sarah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, missed that.
Sorry, I was just allowing Councillor Willis to go first.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. Sorry, Sarah. I was actually almost pointing to you to make. Cause I think I know what you're going to say about the school road issues.
Yes, I knew we had something. Sorry, Sarah. Do you want to take that up because you've been conversing with everybody?
Thank you. Yes, it's a bit of an issue for a lot of local authorities. The police were kind of directing residents really to the district council, that they have certain powers that they can use. And we were trying to get something resolved for the residents. The district council have been very good and proactive, and they've actually been and had conversations with the neighbouring residents. So I'm expecting something to be resolved shortly. But yes, it has been a major problem over the last few weeks. I think we started with some issues in Old Rectory Lane, and it may be that the same perpetrators moved from there once the police sort of added that to their beat, and then that they moved on to School Road. But actions are in place for it to be hopefully stopped. And I think between the police, Paul, and residents, some evidence has been gathered that can be passed on for charges to be brought against the perpetrators.
Thank you, Sarah. Councillor Spencer?
Can I just ask what the issue is, or is it confidential that can't be discussed here?
No, it's not confidential particularly. I'm trying not to be too restrictive about the action that's being taken, because obviously
I don't know what the issue is at all, and I was just thinking, as I lived in the area, I might be helpful if I knew what it was.
Okay, well, basically, it's youth gathering in vehicles. The opposite your road, there is a dead end School Road. That part of School Road there. At the end, there's a field, and some youths are gathering in vehicles and leaving their rubbish behind. It's all fast food containers and bags, and lots of litter. And there's also been some personal hygiene products that have been left behind as well, which is quite disgusting. And they started to leave it in residents' properties as well, on their drives and doorsteps. So that's why we were quite keen to get some action done against this to stop it. So yeah, I have every faith in the district council. They're taking the necessary steps to punish these people.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and they've been very helpful in trying to get this sorted for us as well. So that's good, although it's not a very nice issue that's happening for them. Yes, Councillor Willis.
I just wanted to ask Sarah if there's been any further. Has there actually been any further littering and carrying on up there since the last time? Or
the weekend was the last time, wasn't it? Friday into Saturday.
I'll just find my message. Yes, Friday night. I had a direct message from one of the residents. They had the contact details for the district council, so they were going to pass it on to them direct. I haven't heard anything since.
Did it get cleared up?
I don't know for sure.
Okay, I'll go and have a look tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Paul. Any other policing issues? No, thank you. Okay, moving on to the administration and the clerk's report. Have you got anything else to add to your report since you've submitted it?
Nothing further to add, Chair. Thank you.
I mean, to be fair, I look at this report every month, and it's only really like a snapshot of what Sarah does. And I mean, there's been a lot of time and a lot of emails backwards and forwards to GigaClear, and obviously this littering and all this and this kind of thing. It's there's a lot of other extra little bits. It just seems to take a lot of time, isn't there? So, but yeah, I haven't got anything else to add to that. Okay, moving on to policies. The memorial policy isn't actually due for its full review until March, but the reason why we've added it for tonight is that there is a parishioner that wants to place a bench in the village for her parents. Unfortunately, and we've had to apologise for this, it's taken some considerable time to find a location, because really at the beginning of this saga we didn't really have anywhere. Then we thought we'd be able to put it at the telephone box, and actually really it's not a suitable place, and actually we do have one space available for a bench in the new burial ground. So we've now offered that, and a bench has been bought, and obviously at some point the bench will need to be installed, hopefully by the groundsman, I assume, but we can discuss that later. But anyway, the plaque that goes on the benches was caused a little bit of distress. The part of the policy we're discussing, as I think is 4.33, it was actually quite strict, and actually, to be honest, it is mainly because to have the unity across all the other benches that are in the village in our control. Because we know there are church benches, and there's county council ones as well. So the ones that are in our control had this like unitary description. So she would like to put something a little bit different. It's nothing. It's something nice that she wants to dedicate to her parents, but unfortunately, because the policy says what it says, we're obliged to say no, you can't do that, and obviously that's not particularly nice. So I propose to change the wording to is the inscription on the bench is to be in the form of, in the memory of the naming person, recognition of public office if appropriate, and then, this is the new part, either the dates of birth or a short inscription. All wording on plaques is at the discretion of the parish council. That's the new bit. And then it carries on about dedication, if it's a dedication for an event. I think that gives us the options, or the people that are wanting plaques and memorial plaques, a little bit more freedom, but obviously it is at our discretion to be able to say yes, we agree with that. I think the lady at the moment, I think she just wants in loving memory of and the names, and were always loved. It was something like that, nothing untoward. Councillors, are you happy to accept this change of wording so we can let this parishioner have what she wants on the plaque?
Yeah, I support it. Yeah, it's far too restrictive.
It was, to be fair, but it was in line with other policies in the area at the time. So I think this just gives us a little bit more, gives us and them a little bit more freedom. So
I'm happy to agree.
So Councillor Tibbetts and Councillor Davis have proposed and second that. Thank you. And Sarah will let the parishioner know that that's okay to do what she suggested. The next policy is the virtual meeting policy that has had an update and oh, sorry, Sarah.
Sorry, can I just clarify? Do we want to settle on one of the options that the lady offered to go on the plaque? So that,
yes, go on then. Yeah, sorry.
Doesn't go on too much longer for them, as they've already waited quite some time, and they've now paid the fees as well. So it's something that we need to get ordered really as soon as possible, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So their options were in memory of Polly and Barry Hefford, the kindest people ever known, or come sit and remember with us, Pauline and Barry Hefford, forever loved and missed, or come sit and remember Pauline and Barry Hefford, forever loved, missed, and in our hearts.
I think the second one was quite nice.
Yeah, I agree. Can I just add one thing also, Chair, if I may? Yes. I just had a quick read of the memorial policy, and it refers to the word creosote. Creosote is not now recognised. I'm sorry to be pedantic, but creosote is not used nowadays. It's not allowed to be used. So I just wondered if you might just want to either delete that or just put some preserver.
When we do the proper full review in March,
yeah,
can you remind me?
Yeah, of course.
Because we'll all remember in March, but
yeah, I know. Great. I just noticed it, and I know it's not a used product now.
At tonight, we're literally just discussing this one area of the policy, so we can proceed with a plaque. Councillor Spencer.
I was just thinking, since none of those three wordings are offensive to anybody, and it clearly means an awful lot to the parishioner, couldn't we say we're happy with any of them and let them choose their preferred one?
Yes.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Yeah. That's what
I was going to say.
Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, then Sarah, is that okay with you? Brilliant. Okay, moving on to the virtual meeting policy. It was decided that we'd have a look at this a little bit more because obviously we are doing virtual meetings a lot more. So we wanted to tweak the policy a little bit more, and I'll pass over to Councillor Eldred to explain a little bit more. He's smiling at me.
He's muted as well.
You're muted. There you go.
And that's one of the reasons we had a policy, to make sure we're all muted and be able to see and everything else. This came about purely because we were out there of how many people were watching us live and recordings as we speak. And I think Tom was saying we had a queue of people tonight watching us. So it was kind of thinking of, I'll go back, and I actually watched some of our meetings. Now, what I'm not trying to do is to make us all into BBC presenters, because if we want to do that, we do it as a profession. We do this voluntarily, and everybody does a brilliant job. What I'm trying to do is to make things a little bit easier. If you know, or you may not know, I am deaf. I am profoundly deaf, and I rely a lot on lip reading, watching your lovely faces, your lips, and this, that, and the other, as much as we possibly can. Other people do have some accessibility issues, and for some people, Zoom has been an absolute eye-opener, and I think we're accessed probably more than we ever have been before. I suppose I'm trying to make us a little bit professional, and I'm not going to apologise for that, because I think the more professional we can be, the better we come across. And my opinions about communication and getting us over in the right light for the parishioners. If we can do this, this small thing to make us look really nice and sexy and everything else. And
well, not sexy, maybe.
Well, you speak yourself, Chair. I think, it says a lot about people, doesn't it? If you look at us here now, it's quite interesting. We've got Paul there with 2 guitars behind him. So people already know that, he's an aged rocker. It's fantastic, I've got 2 guitars here as well. Grace is still in her kitchen, it's this working environment. And we do get this persona. I don't know about you. If you watch Zoom meetings, the first thing I do is look at what's behind people. You do learn a lot about people. And I think that's good. And so if you read the policy, if you haven't read it, do read it. There's nothing, I don't think, untoward in there. It just makes us a little bit more professional. There's a little bit on lighting as well in there. If we can light from the front rather than light from the back, we don't end up like halo behind us, and all those little things. And please test your microphones and cameras before you come online. It does make life a lot easier for us all.
And also to wear headphones as well, because I think that makes quite a bit different. If you've got headphones and microphones, it's a lot clearer. I think people that are just using their speakers or the microphones on their laptops often are a little bit harder to understand as well.
Yeah, I would say that. I think it depends on the quality of laptops and things and everything else. Yes, Tom.
The other bit in relation to that is if people aren't using headphones, I do pick up a lot of feedback like earlier in this meeting where the chairman was talking, someone had their speaker on and microphone. I had to go through muting everybody because it was their microphone was then picking up what the chair was saying coming out of their speaker, and it was looping. So that's where, if people can wear headphones, all the better, because it makes it a lot easier, especially with the streaming it to YouTube.
Yep.
We've been doing this. We're getting quite professional at doing this now.
I think so.
To be fair, we've been doing this for 8-9 months now. So, and I think we're going to have a few more months. I think we're going to be doing this probably till at least the summer, unfortunately. So I think it's a good, and actually to have the virtual meeting policy, it might be that actually we have a mixture of meetings going forward as well. So I think it's an important thing to have in place. Yes, Sarah.
Can I ask, I'm not wishing to pick on anybody in particular, but I was just wondering if Trevor has any headphones at all, because I'm not the only one, I think, that really struggled to hear you, Trevor. You sound like you're underwater a lot of the time when you speak, and you do have quite important things to say. So I wonder if you do have access to a microphone or a headset or something that you could use, even if it's sort of one that comes with a telephone device, perhaps. It would just make life a lot easier, particularly for me when I'm typing the minutes. That's all.
That's all I can do.
Thanks. So I'm happy to propose this policy. Can we have a seconder? Councillor Agatha, thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for that. I really appreciate your help. Thank you.
Yeah, and please have a read of the policy and try and take some of the notes on board, I think is the underlying thing there as well. Okay, moving on to IT. We know we've had issues with the cloud and communication servers recently. I will let Tom explain because I don't get it as much as he does.
Thank you, Chair. Basically, when we...
Tom, I can't hear you. Sorry.
Speak up.
Is that any better?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Basically, when our current setup was set up, we were running sort of in the old school rooms, and the COVID has caused us to very much change the way we work, with everything having to be online. It's meaning we're using all the cloud resources a lot more than we were, and realistically we've reached the stage where we need to be on our own dedicated system as opposed to a shared system. And my proposal is that I move us onto a dedicated Rayne Parish Council cloud system, so that sort of maintenance runs, etc., that are running on the public system, that are all scheduled to work on the sort of lowest demand times, that happen to clash with when the council are most likely to be trying to use the system. It means that we don't get any of the things like at the weekends, because of course businesses, etc., are all sort of less demand at weekends, so most of the maintenance schedules run over the weekend. But what happens, of course, weekends is when councillors are trying to access all the data, and so that's where I can therefore have a sort of separate maintenance schedule for the dedicated cloud system for the council. That would then mean that it doesn't interfere with us trying to run as a council, and enable us to streamline everything that we do more.
Yeah, that was the issue at the weekend, because obviously Sarah and I were liaising on Saturday with the final documents, and then realised, we weren't syncing no more, and it's like, Tom, what's happening? And it's like it was, the servers were being cleaned or whatever they are. So and unfortunately it took Tom a few hours to actually stop the process to then get our cloud up and running. So and unfortunately I think as a council our cloud usage is obviously different to a business. So so if we go on to these new servers, what would that entail for us?
Basically, it's a matter of moving all the data from our current setup to the new servers, and then everyone having a different cloud server to access. So instead of doing files.cnscloud.uk, it would be, say, files.rpc-essex.gov.uk, and then I'd have to reset everybody's username and passwords up. So usernames would be the same, i.e. our email addresses, and then I'd do the default password for people to then be able to log in and change it. And those that have it synchronizing to their actual devices would obviously need to reset up the accounts on their apps to talk to the different location.
Sorry, Tom, I can't hear you.
Any better?
Yeah.
Okay.
How much did you not hear? Do you need me to repeat any of that?
Okay. Yeah, that's all right.
So that's the main bit. My proposal is to do it over the Christmas period. As on the whole, I believe that to be the quietest time at least that we're going to be trying to access the data. So it's a time that I can get everything moved across without it interfering with our running of the council.
Yeah. Councillor Davis, you have a question?
Yeah, quick question, Chair. Tom, how much data roughly have we currently got? Sort of in, we're talking gigabytes or?
We're currently approximately 180 gig of data.
Okay.
So it's not a vast amount, but when it's on a public system focused on the businesses, and I've got the schedules run to run out of business hours, but of course, like now is out of business hours, but of course we're trying to run the council meeting, and so of course obviously we get clashes, and that's where by moving, but still have it mirrored to the secondary data centre site, so that it's still the same redundancy in it as it is now. It's just a matter of it's then a separate system that can run all its maintenance schedules at times convenient to us.
Is there any cost involved with changing over to this dedicated server?
No, there's no change in cost.
To be fair, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? I know councillors, you're going to be put out by having to like load your app and have something else to how to log in. But I think if it gives us a more stable environment to work in, I think it's it's a no-brainer. By sounds of it, it sounds like we've like outgrown the facility that we currently have got and just need to go up a level, really. Does anyone else have any other questions? Do we have a proposer and a seconder for this implementation? Councillor Eldred and Councillor Willis, thank you. So yeah, we'll let you play with the cloud and servers over Christmas, because I'm pretty certain that Sarah and I are not going to be doing much over Christmas. Well, hopefully we're not. Will that affect email?
No, emails won't be affected. It's basically the file storage primarily. So
yeah.
All the documents, etc.
And will the website be going onto that same server as well?
I'll be moving the website as well, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But the website won't have any downtime. It'll be
just a quick
flick a switch as far as that side goes. It's the data where I've got to get it off one and onto the other, and then everyone's got to resynchronize within the new location. That's where that'll take time. Yeah,
we'll give out some pictures on how to do it. Or something. But anyway, yes, that's fine to implement, Tom. Does anyone else have any other questions?
I'll do an email to all councillors anyway with instructions for what they need to do, and obviously message me or email me, whatever, if you need help in doing it.
Lovely. Thank you, Tom. Okay. Moving on to the calendar of meetings. Obviously, we looked at these dates last time and kind of like formally, well, we kind of like not formally agreed that we would have those dates. At the time, we couldn't confirm that we could actually have the old schoolroom on those dates, but now it has been confirmed. So are we happy to propose and second those dates for full council and finance committee meeting for next year? Thank you, Councillor Meehan and Councillor Rippingale. Thank you. Can we also note the minutes of the meeting of the community of the? It's not community and data; it's communication and data. I just looked at the agenda. It says community and data. I proofread that really well, Sarah. The communication and data committee minutes. Does anyone have any questions to pose to the chair of that committee from those minutes? I think we have quite a few things going on, which is good. It's a busy committee, so but yes, happy to note them. Mm-hmm. Thank you. We've added a new normal. No, it's not normal. A new agenda item that's going to be a standing one, which is probably something we should have added a few months ago, which is health and well-being. Obviously, with the COVID issues, this is probably where it's come from. Other parish councils have this as a standing item. So I'll pop over to Councillor Eldred to ask if there's any issues with any health and well-being or anything to bring up under that section.
Nothing, Chair, that comes to mind apart from our friendly COVID man and everything that goes along with it and the effect that it has on everybody throughout the village, both mentally, physically, and all those kind of things, right the way through from every person in the village, from what we've heard tonight with schools being shut and all those kind of things that go with it, which has a knock-on effect with everybody within the village. I don't think there's anybody that's not been touched by COVID, and I think it's just an awareness and as being aware of what we can do as a parish council to assist, to keep our eyes and ears open for anything that we can do. And I think that's as much as we can do at the moment, with information changing day by day. We do have some fairly good information coming through from district council, from county council, through government, through different sources. The updates on cases is very good, and we seem to be in a I don't know, one minute where we think we're doing well because the cases are going down, and the next week we seem to be going up again. I think it is just a general awareness and keeping ourselves, aware of what's happening within the village.
Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Willis?
Just to say that Braintree District went back into the green today, so that was good news. Yeah.
Councillor Spencer?
Yeah, I was also going to mention that the numbers have gone down. But also I saw, and I was very sad to see on Facebook that the village pub has closed down. I wondered if any councillors knew what it was they were unable to comply with in terms of the new rules.
Councillor Eldred?
Yeah, I have taken that on board to go and find out from Tracy and Scott why they couldn't open. I think it is difficult for pubs, if they are going to do it absolutely properly, to service a substantial meal with every drink for every person there.
Impossible.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
there are people.
Scotch egg is substantial.
There is no definition. If you want a chorizo sausage roll or a Scotch egg, I think there's all sorts of things been quoted. Unfortunately, there is circumstances, and it probably happens in all villages, where some people are out to cause mischief. There was Tracy and Scott's wedding. I don't know whether you know, they got married. And there wasn't a wedding celebration there. The wedding was somewhere else and everything else. But somebody quite kindly rang the police and told them to get there. So they arrived in the middle of their wedding and caused some issues, shall we say. Following that, and conversations with the district council, both Scott and Tracy decided that it would be economically difficult to carry on. Fully legally. I don't believe any pub is serving legal at this moment in time, but it is difficult. But they've taken the decision that they will open when it is safe and they are not going to get prosecuted. Sad, but there we are.
Sad.
I think the other problem there is that they've only got one door in and one door out, haven't they? Unfortunately. So you can't go in one door and out another easily. That's probably another.
There is no. I mean, access is restricted to what you have. So
Yeah,
as far as public
exactly.
is concerned, but it's one of those. It is a double door, so you could say that it's a good whatever. I think I will reserve my comments, but
that's sad. Yeah,
Councillor Willis.
I was just going to say, actually, I presume by electing to stay closed, they'll be able to get the business grants, which they wouldn't have got, I guess, if they'd have opened in some way. So at least they'll get some help. I have to say, I was just to add to that, this substantial meal thing is very, very difficult because our golf club has opened up now, and we have basically, if you want to have a drink, you've got to have sausage and chips. you don't really want to have sausage and chips every time you have a pint after a game of golf. So you can see the difficulty, really. You know, it's not really possible to legally comply with a substantial meal and have a drink, really. Restaurants can, but pubs, obviously, tricky.
It's a very difficult situation, and I think, you know, as a parish council, all we can do is to be there, is to help and support anyone in the village.
Yeah.
Sarah.
I know I said I'd update on the meeting with BDC today a bit later, and I will do, but just to refer to COVID, which was specifically discussed at the meeting, because it's one of the standing items that we do talk about. And one clerk raised the issue of transport, because I think a number of over 80s have been contacted and asked to go to Basildon for the vaccination, which is obviously very difficult for some people to access. And they did ask the question whether community transport would be able to assist. I don't think that's really viable, because a lot of the community transport volunteers are of a certain age where it's difficult for them to be in close proximity to other vulnerable people. It's not like you can use a community minibus to transport sort of 10 people at once to have the vaccination, because each person has to be in their own bubble. So yeah, it's difficult until we can get somewhere closer to Braintree, hopefully, for people to access if they haven't got their own transport. And the other issue which you raised about funding, yes, they did touch on funding being available for businesses that aren't able to open in Tier 2. But as has already been pointed out, the District Council has been in touch with various businesses. So if anybody has any issues with accessing any funding, then they can let us know and we can pass on their details.
I think Basildon is the last person you want to be community bus to at this moment in time.
It was announced. It was actually announced on the news tonight, I think, on the local news, that Broomfield is coming on stream in 2 weeks.
Yep.
That's good. Okay. Does that cover everything in health, under health and wellbeing? Okay, thank you. Do we have any circulation and correspondence, Sarah?
To bring to your attention, Chair, no.
No. Okay, nothing to note then. And then we're moving on to Essex Minerals and Waste Development Minerals Extraction Site. There were some documents added to the folder Saturday to do with the planning application of the site. I don't think it's nothing that we haven't really known about already. I don't think there's anything much to comment on them, is there? I mean, we can't comment on them anyway. It's just probably just to note that information is out there.
Yeah, it's basically just confirmation of the transport routes into and out of the village. So it specifies that the vehicles can only go through the village if they are making local deliveries. Otherwise, they have to exit on prescribed routes out of and into the village. And there are quite clear maps on the website for Essex County Council if anybody wants to see them. Obviously, once the liaison committee is set up, then we can monitor that, and if there are any issues where they are being contravened, then that will be the place to raise them.
Okay. Councillor Willis?
I was just going to say that I had looked at that. I saw that one of the things they were referring to was signage and things like that. But I have to say that wording is a bit open to interpretation, isn't it? Who's going to say that somebody wasn't, lorries go through here all day long, well over the weight limit, every day, and nobody enforces it anyway. So I know we got the ability to report, to go back for the liaison to say, but I have a feeling it would have been better just to say that the bypass must be used at all times. But there you go.
Can I just ask a question? If lorries start going through the village, surely they would be building a slip road onto the bypass anyway. Isn't that going to be one of the requirements, do you think?
No, it wasn't, was it?
No.
And it should have been.
They've got to go up to Gallywood and come.
The bypass is busy enough as it is. Unless they're going to be delivering out that side of the of the town. I just don't see how. I just see that lorries are going to come through the village, full stop, unless they build a slip road onto the bypass.
But there is a bypass. There is a bypass slip, isn't there, go in that direction that would avoid the village?
They'll go up the roundabout.
But the other way,
that'll be towards Dunmow, won't it? So it won't be coming through the village.
No weight limit there. They can do that.
That I remember at the time when we saw that I thought it was disappointing that the Felsted junction wasn't going to have another one Dunmow direction, because obviously we are okay going east because there is the slip road for them, and I think the idea was that even if they need to go west rather than going towards Dunmow, they were to go east up to Galley's Corner and then go westwards. Is that what is on the maps now, by any chance?
I don't believe there's any restrictions on them using the road down to Dunmow. They can go that way.
Okay.
And they will go that way.
Yeah. Yes, Sarah.
Off at Great Notley and go around that way.
So yes.
That's the arrowed route there.
Oh, okay. Yes.
They don't have to go as far as Galley's Corner. They can come off at that junction.
Unfortunately, planning application is passed, and it is something that was broached at the time that, yes, it perhaps should have had another slipway, but, we weren't listened to. So it is what it is, really. Anything else to update? Haven't heard anything more about the liaison committee, but I think that'll be well into the new year now anyway. So as soon as we hear, we'll get that sorted. Okie dokie. Moving on to planning. We've got one application tonight, which is the conversion of existing stables and barn to a 2-bedroom dwelling house. This is Mill House in School Road. I think for some history, you might have to remind me, Sarah, sorry, that I think there was an application made in 2019, which the Parish Council didn't object to, but it was actually refused BDC refused it last time, but we didn't make an objection. I'm not sure whether this one is actually any different from our point of view.
It's still a single-storey dwelling. There were no comments made by neighbours either last time, and there's nothing on the website this far either.
Councillor Willis?
Well, I think we have to go with the same positions we went before. There's nothing changed, has there, really? I mean, I can't remember what the reason for a refusal was by Braintree Council.
Sarah?
Simple and quite basic, really, that they hadn't done any marketing into the viability of the stables as an employment.
Oh, right, okay.
Whether that's happened this time, I couldn't find any confirmation that had been undertaken this time, so that they could overcome that objection. But hopefully they would have taken that on board from the previous refusal. It would be silly to go down exactly the same route without taking that on board and trying to respond to it.
You'd hope so. I'm happy to propose no comment.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Willis. Okay, excuse me while you get bored of my voice while I run through all the other planning stuff. Planning application to note is the certificate of lawfulness for proposed development of a single-storey rear extension at Littleover in New Road. Planning results: the stationing of a mobile home at 44 Shelford Road was refused. The intent to carry out works to a TPO tree and reducing the crown height and loads of tree work at 33 Vaughan Close has been granted. The application for approval of details as reserved by conditions 5, 6 and 7 of approved application of Meadows Residential Fairy Hall Lane, that has been granted. The application for certificate of lawness for a proposed development for a proposed loft conversion with rear dormer and roof lights at Littleover has been granted. First floor extension and loft conversion with rear dormer and roof lights at 41 Shelford Road has been refused. The two-story side and single story, it's like a tongue twister, and side extension and single story front porch at Windycroft, that has been refused. And the change of use of land to provide private residential manage with associated surfacing and fencing at Sorrells Farm has been granted. Right. Moving on to the Ashes Wall, and to update councillors on progress and hopefully to appoint a councillor that's happy to work probably with me, or to help manage the project. So where to start? Back in the year 2001, there was a lot of talk between the church and the parish council, and the parish council have long considered that there was going to have to be provision for coffin and ashes site within the village, and that this was something that we were going to have to look into to help the majority of Rayne residents that were likely to use the facility. So back in 2001, eventually with them being built in 2004, we have the first part of the circle for the Ashes Wall that are currently there. They were built and funded by the parish council, and it so happened that it's now got full. So we've had to then look at not completing the circle. The circle, I believe, is when it was originally drawn out back in the early 2000s, was to actually have 5 walls. At the moment, the proposal is to build the additional 2 walls. It becomes more cost effective to do 2 rather than 1 at a time. And I think with more people being cremated rather than buried, as seems to be the trend, the walls probably will fill up quicker than perhaps the original 2 walls have. So with that in mind, Sarah and I met with people from the church to discuss the placement of these 2 new walls. This was back in March before COVID struck, and it's only really recently that we've managed to kind of like get everything together and everyone together to carry on these discussions. It's quite difficult because we don't actually have a councillor or a clerk that was around on the council, working for the council at the time. So getting information has been quite tedious, and no, I think tedious is not quite the right word. It's all got a bit jumbled, but because we have a design, we know this is what should make it easier this time is that we actually do have a design. And we know where we can get the bricks from. It has to be lime mortar. It has lime mortar, and it has to be, a certain type of build. So I believe we're kind of like getting to the nitty gritty of what we need to do. The church has to ask for the faculty, which is basically their version of a planning application, to have these 2 walls added. Unfortunately, we can't get a faculty until we have quotes in, so we need to put this out to tender reasonably soon, as soon as possible, to be honest, so then we can actually finish off the application form for the faculty. So this is basically where we're at. There's a lot of information, lots of emails going between myself and the church and Roger, to be fair. I mean, Roger has been an absolute godsend with all the information that he kept as he project managed this back in the early 2000s. So I know there's going to be a few comments and obviously more questions on how we proceed and what we're going to do. So I'll open it up to anyone. Councillor Tibbetts.
Well, I might as well start it.
I knew you would.
I this. Well, you all received the thing I sent round, I presume.
Yes.
It said
Thank
that
you.
NELC definitely did object to it, did not approve of people giving parish councils giving money to churches, and the law that it's following. I did notice that in the on the cloud, a document did appear which said that oh yes, we can give money from the Church Building Council. The Church Building Council is a statutory body of the Church of England, which is accountable to the General Synod. So it is actually the church saying, yes, you can give us money. So that doesn't really count for much. And I think we should follow what NELC says. I'll let other people say now.
I have to say I agree. And
Can I just come in there just before you carry on, just to say that the document that I uploaded was provided to me by EALC after I asked for advice on this point, and they would have received that via NAUC, just to clarify.
It still came from the church.
Councillor Willis.
I wanted to say really that my initial reaction when the church is involved is to be very cautious because, it's a quite divisive subject at times. But I've looked at this quite carefully now, and I've really have taken some time over this to look at it and consider it. And what's become important to me really is that it's not really a church project. It's available to everybody in Rayne, and that means that anybody in Rayne who wants to use that memorial wall and be remembered on it can, regardless of the church. Got nothing. It happens to be in the churchyard, but that's really the only association. And to my mind, it's actually a really worthwhile project for the village. Quite frankly, it's not completely confined to the church. Nothing like it. We're not really funding the church. We're funding an amenity and an asset for the people of Rayne, because they need to be remembered somewhere, whether they go to the church or they don't. And I should say that I'm not particularly any direction. I'm not a regular churchgoer. I'm not anti-church, but I'm not a regular churchgoer either. But I do think it's a much wider question than just the church.
Thank you. Councillor
It
Eldred.
doesn't have to be in the church. We can build a wall elsewhere.
Where would you propose?
Or our own burial ground.
Okay, there's an issue and there's a reason why the ashes wall is where it is. The new burial ground that we've got is ideal for burials only, mainly because of the high water table that it has. It hasn't got an issue with the high water table. The ashes wall area has been dug out and pipes laid to take water away. So this area will never be suitable for burial, coffin burials. Hence why this is the area that is suitable to take ashes. Now, is it prudent where we have a piece of land that is suitable for coffin burials and take a large slab of it out for ashes memorial when really it's for coffin burials? And also there was an area that was unconsecrated as well. Councillor Eldred.
Muted.
I would like to point out that there needs to be some continuity. There are people who have had relatives and their ashes scattered by the existing wall, and it would be a shame for additional people from that family to be remembered in a different part, because I think a lot of it, if you look at the wall, there was a lot of names and generations that are starting to follow, which and there will be in the future. And I think all being in one place gives those people some solace, I think, when they're there looking at all the names. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I've already stated that, when the idea was originally, born, it was that it was going to make a complete circle, and with that in mind, that's what we're trying to do. I would like to reiterate that, yes, it is to the benefit of the whole community, to everyone that lives in the parish boundary. And also it is at the discretion, and also as well that people that have moved out, there may be some long-term residents that have had to move away from the village, whether it be to a care home or had to move out of the village and move in with sons and daughters, that they've still been allowed because they are, essentially Rayne. So it does have a community part, and the PCC will confirm at their next meeting that this will continue, that it will, carry on being, any denomination, and whatever service you require when you want the ashes dug, because all the ashes are actually dug within the circle. So, and that is offered, and any it doesn't have to be a Christian service. It can be whatever you want it to be, is what I'm trying to say. Badly. Councillor Willis.
I was just going to add, there's a couple of other points, I think, really, as well. I mean, firstly, the parish council does have it's a small income, granted, but it could be more, and that is from the fact that we charge for the plaques, and we make a small surplus on those plaques, so that over time has contributed towards the cost of those. Well, I'm not saying it's a huge amount, but it's not an amount nonetheless, and I can't actually see what the problem. I mean, I walked down there. I'm just there because I'm keen to see what the issues. I walked down there again on Saturday afternoon, and it's such a lovely spot. The church, at the end of the day, whatever your beliefs in the church are, it's a lovely spot. It's a beautiful asset, and if it was not available to the people in the village, I think it would be a fair point. Whether we should be supporting it, because it's widely available, I can't really see what the issue is that it happens to be in the churchyard.
Yeah, unfortunately, because of where it is, we have to kind of go through faculties, which is part of the church.
Okay.
Sorry, Simon.
That's right. The issue really is it's a legal one, basically, that we're not supposed to be doing it. And also, if the church, to continue it, it is not dependent on us to build the wall. The church is quite capable of building a wall and carrying on the same design. It doesn't have to be via us. They're quite capable of sticking the plaques on. We can tell them where we get them from. We don't really have to be involved in this at all. It's nothing really to do with us.
Why would we want to be involved?
I don't know why we're involved.
But why wouldn't we want to be involved? It's for the whole village.
If the church do it then often will then become. No, it's a PC funded wall.
But only because we're PC funding it, because we didn't realise what the restrictions were back then. Now we do. We should abide by them.
So I also, back in the summer, sought advice from NALC, asking the same question. Their reply to me was that there is no case in law to resolve the question of the legality. It is unclear if subsequent acts of Parliament changed the original Act of 1894. Any court action stated to resolve the point is likely to be time-consuming and costly. So the legality has not been tested, and by the sounds of it, they're not keen for it to be tested. So we have already built 2 walls. This was the decision of a previous council, and the legality wasn't questioned back in 2001 to 2004. We have sought advice from previous councillors that were on that council at the time, and we've also contacted the clerk at the time to find out what the discussions were on any legal issues, and there wasn't any.
Yeah. It hasn't been a case brought against it, so yes, you cannot say it's definitely illegal, but NELC did make the thing that we shouldn't really do it. if you read their statement, their summing up, they were not keen on councils doing it.
I think it was a little bit subjective, to be honest.
Right, carry on, but I'm not having anything to do with it.
That's fine. Councillors, anyone else have any thoughts or suggestions? Any questions?
I'm with Simon. I'm happy to say I don't think that because it's been done before, it makes it right. I can see that there are contentions and that it's speculative, but I just think it's potentially, contentious, to be honest. And I just don't think the church is quite capable of preparing doing the wall as well. The thing is, what happens when the circle is completed? Where is the next wall going to be built? You say that that's a perfect spot. Yeah, that's a perfect spot. But that in time, over years, those walls will be full up and the circle will be completed. Then they'll be looking elsewhere. And are we going to fund that? That's a question for the future council. But I just don't agree that because it's been done before, it should be done again.
Councillor Willis?
I think we've said several times there we're funding it because it's for the whole village, not simply for the church. If the church funded it, it would be a church asset, wouldn't it?
Sarah?
And the wall is in the church. It is a church asset.
For the use of the village.
It's a church asset.
So still for the use of the villagers, though.
So lots of things. The shop is a use for the village. So is the pub. So
what's that got to do with anything?
Precisely. The fact that it's used by the village doesn't have any
but your principal objection is a legal one, isn't it?
Yeah, because we were advised not to do it.
We weren't advised not to do it, I don't think. We were advised that it's possibly illegal. I don't think we were advised. If it was a wider interest, if it had a wider interest to the village, then
the wider interest of the village didn't actually come into it.
I think it did. I think there is some comment to that effect.
It was more the fact that there hadn't been a case.
Sarah.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify that we have sought advice, and the advice is that we cannot fund anything for the church building. This is not a church building. It's in the grounds of the church, and therefore it's admissible.
Okay, Councillor Agata.
I may be wrong, but my understanding is with the grants that the church has got for the works that they're doing on the building itself, to get those grants, they've had to open up to the entire village anyway. So it's...
Can't hear you, Tom.
Can't hear you, Tom.
You're very quiet, Tom.
Is that any better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
From what I understand with the grants that they've got, that they're having to open up to serve in the whole village anyway. And so, therefore, it's all part of providing for the village, not for the church.
Yeah. Councillor Eldred, did you have your hand up?
Well, I only wanted to ask Simon and Celia, really, if we were, do you think there is a need for some kind of memorial of this type within the village? And if so, if we had to build it, where would we build it?
I'd build it on parish ground, namely the burial ground.
Okay.
That's ours.
Which I've already stated is ideal land for burials. It's not affected by the water table like the area where the Ashes Memorial currently is, which is why it was chosen for that area. So although, yes, it could be an option, I think it's a shame to take away X amount of good burial sites for a wall where we have a place already in situ.
we don't have it, the church has it.
Can I just say that I don't think the church has it. I think those people that actually use it have that facility. I
Exactly.
think it's like gravestones. It's like everything else, isn't it? I only know from a family point of view, Simon Celia. That's where I'm coming from. I've got mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, and father and mother on that wall, and I find it a place of solace. I find it wonderful. I would like to be on the wall. I would like to be near my mum and dad, and all those kind of things. That's just a very personal point of view, but I can see it, and it's emotive to a lot of people and a lot of villagers.
And I think it's only right that we carry that on.
It's the church.
But you know, 4 years ago, we agreed to up the price of the plaques to help fund a new Ashes wall. So there's always been a long-term objective that we would be funding and we would be building these walls. So I'm not sure how either of you voted at that time. I can remember the price increase happening, but I haven't looked back in the minutes, obviously, to see. So, there has always been, the parish council has always considered that this was going to have to be an option.
If we can put forward a business case for it and say that we're actually going to pay for it or it'll make money, then yes, we could probably justify it like that. So, but it's still and how much it's going to cost.
But it's still in the churchyard, Simon. That's your objection, isn't it?
But as a business case, we could probably justify it.
I mean, it's not the first time this has come up over the last few years. It has come up that we eventually were going to have to build new wells. We were making provision to do that, weren't we? So it's not a new item. It's not something that's suddenly sprung out of the ether.
I can't remember a meeting where we decided to build a new wall.
We certainly discussed, maybe not decided, but we've certainly discussed on a number of occasions that we would have to make provision to extend the walls. I'm sure we have.
It's been in the precept for the last 2-3 years that we would probably have to use some of reserves to do this as well, because obviously that we won't have the full, nowhere near the full amount to fund it.
If the church want it, it wall doesn't really cost that much. They can build a wall there. It's nothing to do with us.
So with them, we should stop charging for plaques, should we?
The church could do the plaques.
What? So, but you just said we could do the plaques as well.
No.
If we made a business case, though.
If you made a business case and could prove it, that we were actually doing this to make money coming in, then probably yes. But that's not really what it should be about.
But it's still in the churchyard, though, isn't it?
We could put a business case for doing anything. And if it's actually going to pay money, then yes.
I'm not following your objection, really, because you're saying on the one hand it's a church asset in the churchyard, but you're happy for it to be a business case for the parish council.
Because then we're not actually paying out money to the church. We're not giving a grant to the church.
Well, we are getting a return now, aren't we?
Is it enough?
Well, we don't know that yet.
If we actually looked at it and found out whether it's enough or not, then yes.
Until we start getting quotes in, I mean, to be fair, it was only 4 years ago, I think, we approved the increase. So it's not going to cover.
It's not going to cover. Therefore, there's no business case
at all. But it was then, it was a start at the time, knowing that this is what was going to have to happen. This was something that that we have done back in 2001 and agreed with that we would do for the community. Whether we say it's in collaboration with the church or not, when somebody requests a plaque, they either come to, the plaque either comes via the church or they come straight to us. The wording on that documentation is a collaboration between us and the church. We shouldn't have to have an us and them situation. It should be that groups within the village work together for a common goal. And this was what the parish council was doing back in 2001, working towards something for a common goal for the good of the village. And this is what we are continuing to do today.
But the legal situation says we can't do that. And things.
Subjective.
But could be subjective, but it's how do they?
So is someone going to really take us to court if we do this?
Yep. As I said, but before
You're going to dob us in then, Simon. You're going to dob us in if we proceed with this.
It's
then.
tempting, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I think it might cost me a lot of money, so I probably wouldn't bother.
I rest my case then.
Yeah. But just because.
So anyway,
go on then.
Whether you agree on the legality of this, we have things. Sorry, Councillor Spencer, you need to unmute.
This may be a very dumb question because, as you know, I'm new to the council, so I'm not privy to any of the.
There's no dumb questions. Trust me. The last week there's been no dumb questions.
So I've listened to the points that everybody's made, and I've taken on board that this is for the whole community, not just the church. Can we not go ahead with it? But maybe it's too late for this budget year. But next year, increase the cost of the plaques. So to get to Simon's point about making it so that we're not kind of losing money on it. If we increase the fees, then going forward, maybe it wouldn't be costing the parish council any money, but we would still be providing a facility for the whole village.
Yeah, that'd be right.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we can look at. It will be recouping the costs that we have. And I'll remind councillors that in the next precept, there's £1,000 there for a community project. Councillors may feel that £1,000 could actually go towards this community project, or they might feel that there's something else. But there is the finances there, and we can also look at grants as well. That there may be a possibility that we might be able to get grants for this. It may be complicated. We don't know. Hence why this is reason why I had this on the agenda for tonight is that actually there's been a lot of work between myself and the church and Roger trying to collate the information to go forward. And ideally, I really do need a councillor that would like to step up and help project manage this. I won't say for me because it's probably going to be more alongside me, but perhaps can cover off something. I don't know if there's anyone there that's willing to help out and keep this project going, because I'm concerned that we don't want to let this lapse. We don't want it to turn into a burial ground situation where it's going to take 13 years to get through. The original rules took 3 years to get through, and that was mainly because there was disagreements on the sketches and whether it's going to be a straight wall or a curved wall or anything. So it should be more straightforward, but it'd be quite nice to have somebody working alongside that could perhaps look for grants, get a tender letter and get tenders sent out to aid the parish council going forward. Is there anybody that would like to help?
Shall I volunteer?
Councillor Eldred, have I twisted your arm enough?
I'm enthused about it, so I'll do it.
Thank you. I much appreciate that, and we'll converse at a later stage and go through things. Obviously, this will be coming back to council because obviously there will be spending to approve at a later date anyway. So I'm sure there'll be many more conversations like this again. But thank you for a lively debate anyway. Moving on to the environment and grounds. Trevor.
Yes, November saw the grounds and cover off a fair bit in the Oak Meadow, which is good progress. I think they've probably done about half the jobs they are due to do across the winter. In terms of expenditure, you'll see there's a fair bit of expenditure over the last period, and that's because of the new extendable hedge cutter or hedge trimmer, which the groundsman I found very useful, they've told me. But the current issues we have at the moment is the fact that Mark has tested positive for COVID-19 on the 1st of November and is currently self-isolating. I have no idea how that's going to go. Obviously, his wife, Jackie, is also vulnerable. So we only have our fingers crossed for them as a family. And also, Andy has confirmed today that he's probably got gastroenteritis. So we are without groundsman at the moment. Yes, so we may be very light on the ground across December. That's all I can say at the moment.
Well, obviously, we wish them both well as a first instance, and I think you just need to keep us up to date if there's any issues, and if there's anything, like litter picking or anything that that as parish councillors, if we're walking around the village, can help with.
Try and do this Thursday in terms of a bin day and litter picking again.
Chair, can I just ask Councillor Riffingale, is Queenborough Lane in our area?
In terms of the Burgess?
Yeah, I know. I drove down there yesterday and I noticed yesterday, the day before, I noticed there's an awful lot of rubbish along that road. I don't know if it's because it's been chucked over from the bypass or what, but I just wondered if that.
I don't think that end of the bypass that end is ours, is it?
No. I mean, the only thing we do off that way is the footpaths.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. I just the twisty road round it was just so full of rubbish. So I just wondered who that fell under.
I think you'll find that as well outside of our boundary.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Councillor Willis.
I was just going to say, it's shocking down there, but the problem is, where do you start and finish on this? I mean, I think Andy said last week that last week was the worst litter pick, most amount of litter that he'd had to pick for 12 years since he'd been doing the job. So there's litter everywhere, unfortunately. It's really difficult to keep on top of it. But I agree, Queenborough Lane is very much an eyesore, but I don't know whether it falls into the district council or what it falls into, but whoever it is, it's not being picked up, is it?
I think it's takeaway restaurants, and takeaway facilities that are adding to the problems. I think
it's people.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to ask about, and I know you mentioned in email, so but it's about getting the 3 bins sorted.
Oh yes, sorry. After discussion with the groundsman, they feel they don't have the relevant skills / tools in order to facilitate putting the new bins in. So they have recommended John Metzen, who is one of Roger's tenants. Supposedly he can do a good job for for a reasonable price anyway. So I was going to, when I get a chance, go down and see him and scope that out, see what that will actually cost us.
If they're not keen on putting bins in, are they going to not want to place a bench? Just thinking of the bench that we spoke about earlier.
Yeah,
it's going to be.
Subject. I mean, it's in the same sort of vein because obviously concrete and also lining and things like that. Pins. So I don't know, to be fair, but I will ask that question when I have them back, obviously.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Chair, can I just ask, did we not discuss about putting some sort of bin by the recycling,
yes,
by the bottle bank? Is that one of the bins in question?
Oh, yes.
Oh, right, okay.
It's a bin that we're quite desperate to get.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because there's rubbish accumulates, doesn't it? Yeah, okay, thank you.
So this is something that we can get, a price and sorted, and as long as it's not astronomical, I'm sure councillors will agree to it.
They're not expensive. I hadn't noticed one the other day, but let me just have a quick look and see if I can.
Yeah,
no, we bought the bins. No, we have the bins. It's the installation of them.
The installation is basically arranging the concrete and the pins, and obviously the internals of the bin. I say they don't feel they've got the I wouldn't say the wherewithal, but they certainly haven't got the good tools to do that.
I thought.
where the illness comes in.
Sorry,
I mean,
Trevor.
they originally had enthusiasm about it, but until they looked at it in detail, that's when they thought maybe we can't.
Sorry, Chair, but I thought that we were going to put some sort of bin similar to what they have at the railway stations. You know, it's just a rim and you just put a bag over it by the.
Yes.
Fair enough.
You still have to put the frame into concrete.
Still put the frame in, yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. So Trevor, if you can try and sort that out and find out, get some quotations or a price or something, because it's something that we're probably going to have to do. Yes, please. Yeah. Councillor Willis.
I was just going to say, I mean, we'll try and I'll try and have a little bit of a tidy up this next few days.
Okay.
Certainly starting tomorrow.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay, is that it for grounds, Trevor?
Yeah, well, I just to mention I did check on the electricity we have used, and it is 85 units so far. I see on the accounts that we still haven't had an invoice for those 85 units yet. But obviously that is not a lot in the grand scheme of things, because we were obviously banking on about £200 per year. This is not even £20 over the whole year so far, I think.
No, we're at a complete estimate for this year. Sarah?
Filled in a little bit there. Was that to do with electricity for the unit?
Yes.
Yeah, I should explain that the invoice was missing for last month, and because Susan, Roger's secretary, was incapacitated, and the electricity had been added on to that one, so it's now been credited back, and a new invoice has been submitted, which will be paid in January, which includes the electricity, which was, I think it was about £6.
Yes, astronomical, as we know.
But obviously, I'm not sure if that includes when the unit light was left on for some time.
I think so, yes.
Okay. But anyway, they are aware that it will now be, I